June 15, 1859, San Juan Island, a small island in the Pacific Northwest. A potato patch, an American farmer named Lyman Cutler, and a wandering pig. The pig had been a problem for weeks, rooting through Cutler's crops, destroying his plants, testing his patience. On this particular day, Cutler's patience snapped. He shot the pig, killed it. It was a reasonable action by a frustrated farmer, nothing unusual, certainly nothing that should have international consequences, except the pig belonged to the British Hudson's Bay Company, and that one dead pig, one single farm animal, would lead to the arrival of American troops, then British warships, then thousands of soldiers from two major world powers facing each other on a tiny island for 13 years, with no actual war, just two nations, two armies, one dead pig, and a level of restraint that seems almost impossible in hindsight. I'm Keith Conrad, and this is Sidequests. Today, the Pig War. A story about vague treaties, miscommunication, escalation, diplomacy, and how close two major powers can come to war over an issue so absurd that future generations would struggle to believe it actually happened. Let's start with why this pig mattered at all. In 1846, the United States and Great Britain signed the Oregon Treaty, a major boundary agreement. It settled the border between American and British territory in the Pacific Northwest. The border would follow the 49th parallel of latitude. Simple, clean, dividing North America neatly into two halves. But there was one major problem: the San Juan Islands. These islands sit in the water between two waterways, the Strait of Georgia and the Strait of Juan de Fuca. They're strategically valuable. They're rich with resources. And the treaty language, the actual wording of the agreement, was vague about who owned them. Both nations interpreted the treaty differently. The United States claimed the San Juan Islands, said they belonged to America based on the treaty language. Britain claimed the San Juan Islands, said they belonged to Britain based on a different reading of the same treaty language. Neither side wanted to surrender strategic territory. Neither side wanted to risk war over it. So both sides essentially ignored the problem, but people on the ground couldn't ignore it. American settlers established farms on San Juan Island, building lives, trying to make a living in the territory they believed was theirs. The British Hudson's Bay Company established operations on the same island, a sheep farm, a salmon station, British presence claiming the same territory. Two governments, one island, officially competing claims, unofficially coexisting in an awkward, tense situation. Everyone knew the arrangement was unstable. Everyone knew someday something would trigger a confrontation. Nobody expected it to be a pig. Lyman Cutler, American farmer, trying to make a living on San Juan Island. For weeks, a pig had been wandering, rooting through his crops, destroying his potato patch. A persistent problem, a growing frustration. June 15th, 1859. The pig wanders into Cutler's field again. Cutler's patience is exhausted. He shoots the pig, kills it. It's done. The problem is solved. The pig is dead. Life continues, except the pig belongs to the British Hudson's Bay Company. Charles Griffin, the British official overseeing operations on the island, is furious. This isn't just property destruction, it's an act of aggression against British interests, against British sovereignty, against British authority on what they claim is British territory. Griffin demands compensation, demands Cutler pay for the pig. Cutler refuses. He shot the pig on American territory, he argues. On land that belongs to the United States, the British have no authority. He owes nothing. Griffin escalates, threatens to arrest Cutler, says he'll prosecute him under British law, says the killing was an act of destruction against British property. What began as a property dispute, one farmer shooting one pig, suddenly transforms, becomes an international incident, becomes a crisis. American settlers on the island are alarmed. If the British arrest Cutler, what does that mean for them? Are they subject to British law? Are they prisoners on their own land? They petition the U.S. government, request military protection, say they need American troops to defend them from British authority. The problem that's been simmering for 13 years, the ambiguous treaty language, the competing claims, the shared occupation, suddenly boils over a pig. The U.S. government responds. General William S. Harney, aggressive, quick-tempered, prone to seeing British actions as colonial overreach, hears about the incident. He's furious. sees it as a challenge to American authority, decides to act. He sends General George Pickett to San Juan Island with 66 American soldiers. Yes, that General Pickett, the same man who would lead Pickett's charge at Gettysburg. The same Pickett whose name became synonymous with one of the bloodiest moments in American history. And before all that, before the Civil War, before Gettysburg, Pickett was here on a tiny island in the Pacific Northwest over a dead pig. Pickett arrives, establishes defensive positions, makes clear that American forces are present. American authority is here. American soldiers will protect American settlers. The British are not pleased. Charles Griffin and British officials view this as an invasion, an act of war, an escalation they didn't expect. They call for reinforcements, military support. They're not going to back down to American aggression. Britain sends warships, not one, not two. 5 warships arrive in the waters around San Juan Island. 2,000 troops, a massive military response to the presence of 66 American soldiers. The island is tiny, only a few miles across. Now it's surrounded by British naval power, ringed by warships, threatened with overwhelming military force. From the American perspective, this is aggressive. This is bullying. This is colonial powers throwing weight around. From the British perspective, this is defense. This is protecting British interests. This is responding to American military aggression. Both sides have military forces. Both sides are prepared for conflict. Both sides are convinced the other side started it. War seems possible, maybe even likely. The local commanders, Pickett on the American side, the British naval officers, are sending urgent messages to their governments asking for guidance, asking for instructions, asking whether they should actually fight. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The governments receiving these urgent messages recognize something. If American soldiers and British forces actually start fighting on this island, the consequences will be enormous. This could escalate. Could become a major war between two powerful nations, could reshape global politics over a pig. Washington orders restraint. The American government tells Pickett, hold your ground, but don't fire first. Wait for orders. Don't escalate. London orders restraint. The British government tells their commanders, maintain presence, but don't attack. Wait for diplomatic resolution. Don't turn this into a war. Both sides back away from the edge. Instead of fighting, something unexpected happens. Nobody attacks. Nobody retreats. The standoff simply continues. American soldiers maintain their defensive positions on shore. British warships remain anchored nearby. Both sides armed, both sides ready, but neither side willing to pull the trigger. It's the world's most polite military standoff. Soldiers from two nations occupy opposite sides of a tiny island. They see each other daily. Sometimes they interact. Sometimes they trade supplies or information. Sometimes they maintain distance and tension, but they don't fight. The standoff becomes routine, normal. The military presence becomes expected. Soldiers from both nations settle into occupation, make camps, establish routines, wait for something to change. But nothing changes, not for 13 years. 13 years, that's a long time for a military standoff, a long time for soldiers to remain in position, a long time for a dispute to remain unresolved. During those 13 years, the world changes. History marches on. The American Civil War erupts in 1861, the bloodiest conflict in American history. The nation tears itself apart. General Pickett, the same Pickett on San Juan Island, marches off to Virginia, leads cavalry charges, becomes famous, becomes infamous for the charge at Gettysburg. The Civil War dominates American attention, dominates American resources, demands American military capacity. But San Juan Island, the British remain. The American garrison remains, smaller now because troops are needed in the Civil War, but present. The war ends in 1865. The nation begins reconstruction. The country is exhausted, traumatized, trying to rebuild. Through all of this, the war, the aftermath, the reconstruction, the pig war continues. Not violently, not actively, but persistently. The dispute remains unresolved. The military presence remains. Soldiers rotate. Years pass. New commanders arrive. Old commanders leave. But the standoff continues. It's absurd in its persistence. A military confrontation that no one wants to resolve through violence, but no one can resolve diplomatically either. Both nations remain locked in position, neither willing to back down, neither willing to fight, both hoping that somehow eventually the dispute will be resolved. Eventually, both governments realize that the military standoff can't continue forever. The status quo is unsustainable. The soldiers can't remain indefinitely. The money being spent on military presence is better spent elsewhere. The tension, while not actively dangerous, is still a drain on relations. Both nations agree to something extraordinary. Let someone else decide. Submit the dispute to arbitration, have a neutral third party review the competing claims, and decide who actually owns the San Juan Islands. They choose an unlikely arbitrator, Kaiser Wilhelm I of Germany. The German emperor, Wilhelm, reviews the competing claims, studies the treaty language, studies maps, studies geography, considers the logic of both interpretations. It takes time. The Kaiser carefully examines the evidence. He's supposed to be neutral, and he conducts a thorough review. Finally, in 1872, Wilhelm makes his decision. He rules in favor of the United States. San Juan Island belongs to America. The British interpretation was wrong. The American position was correct. It's a clear victory for the United States, a loss for Britain. After 13 years of standoff, the arbitration settles it decisively. The Kaiser's decision made, the standoff ends. The British have no reason to remain. The arbitration was binding. Both sides agreed to accept the Kaiser's decision. The British government, while disappointed, accepts the outcome. November 1872, British forces withdraw from San Juan Island, pack up their camp, sail away, leave the island to American authority. 2 years later, American troops also depart. The military presence ends. The occupation is complete. 13 years of soldiers, 13 years of military presence, 13 years of potential conflict, all ending not with violence but with orderly withdrawal. The final tally of this pig war, 13 years of military confrontation, thousands of soldiers and sailors involved, warships positioned, defensive works built, supplies expended, military resources deployed, 0 battles, 0 combat, 0 deaths from military action. The only casualty, the pig. Lyman Cutler, the farmer who started the whole thing by shooting the pig, never paid compensation for the animal. He never faced charges. The American victory in arbitration meant his actions were validated. The pig's death was justified as an act on American territory. Today, San Juan Island has a different character. It's peaceful, quiet, a place where tourists visit, where history is remembered. The former British camp still exists, maintained, commemorated, open to visitors. British traditions continue on the site. A reminder of 13 years of occupation. There's a monument, a marker, something noting that this was the site of international military confrontation, that 2 empires faced off here, that war was possible but was avoided. The Pig War is celebrated as a rare moment when 2 rival powers stepped back from the brink, when diplomatic solutions were chosen over military ones, when restraint prevailed. It's an unusual historical moment, a standoff that lasted years without becoming violent. A crisis that was resolved through arbitration rather than warfare. A reminder that nations can disagree fundamentally, maintain military presence, and still choose not to fight. The pig itself, long dead. Forgotten except as the catalyst for the story, but memorialized in its own way. Remembered not because of what it was, but because of what its death almost caused. In 1859, a pig wandered into a potato patch. A farmer shot it. No one could have predicted what followed. 13 years later, after thousands of soldiers stood watch on an island, after warships surrounded a tiny piece of land, after 2 empires faced each other across a border dispute, the pig was the only casualty. No soldiers died, no battles were fought, no war erupted from what could easily have become a major international conflict. 1 pig died, 2 empires argued for 13 years. A Kaiser made a decision and the world was spared a war that never should have happened in the first place. It's a reminder that history often hinges on small moments. A wandering animal, a farmer's frustration, a dispute about a treaty's language. Any of these things could have tipped toward violence. Instead, they tipped toward restraint. The Pig War ended not with a bang, but with an arbitration, not with blood, but with bureaucracy, not with victory and defeat, but with a decision that both sides could live with. It's one of history's most strangest stories and one of its most hopeful.